Business Live today.
Welcome once again to the program. Now, 50 members of the Association of Ghana Industries have been selected to be examined by government for the promised stimulus package for industries. Upon examination, 30 companies at various levels of financial distress will be supported under 4 different financial packages. Government, as part of its industrialization agenda, promised to resuscitate distressed companies. Joy Business has been speaking with 2 of the assessment team members.
This level of the job of the TSG, which is Technical Support Group for the Ministry, is to, in alignment or in consultation with what we call it, Ghana Association of Industries. They have gone through and pre-selected about 287, and out of that, they use a toolkit to select 50. And out of the 50, our duty is to evaluate the information available, to confirm the reality, to be able to check whether if the fund is given, it will be sustainable, they can pay the debt, and they can re-employ the people and embark on exports. So that's exactly what we are trying to do to help the government.
So exactly what are you here today to find?
Slade is one of the companies who look quite distressed and illiquid because of the difficulties of exchange rates and borrowing, short-term borrowing from other banks. So once being selected, we need to sit down with the management, look at the figures given, cross-check against their production levels and see whether if they have that size of money coming into the company, the impact it will have in its operations, outputs, and income, and ability to service the loan, and then begin to be sustainable. So we are just here to look at a few things and discuss with them and to clarify and also verify the figures for ourselves.
Okay, so how soon after this your exercise is it likely for companies to get some relief?
From the ministry's point of view, I think the government has decided the first phase of the stimulus should take off by September ending. So we have a very short time between now and September to make sure about 30 of the 50 companies take off.
Exactly how much amounts are we looking at when it comes to?
It varies. In fact, it varies, and there are four options of it. It can be direct debt on lending through banks, some are equity or equity, and a kind of hybrid, which will be like guaranteed to support it get done. So we need to look at each other's needs and then evaluate with the management and help them to understand which of the financing needs will be more appropriate for them. For example, if you take my big brother here, his problems are more of refinancing and working capital. So we need to look at it and see what level of funding will be appropriate for him to access through the stimulus plans.
Government's assessment team at Slade Industries, one of the distressed companies that it's been assessed for this stimulus package. Moving on now, a tax administrator is emphasizing intensified examination as a measure to reduce tax evasion. Assistant Commissioner at the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Kwesi Ahiakpo, says it will address revenue collection shortfalls. Prince Apia has more in this report.
The outgoing sector commander for Ashanti region has been reassigned to the Volta region after 20 months in charge. ACE Kwesi Ahiakpo has been speaking exclusively to Love Business.
Conscientization and continuous education of the customs officer himself is also key. And strengthening the preventive aspect of our operations, examination is key. The problem starts from examination, because if the examination officer goes and misdescribes the goods and underdeclares short lands, you've seen 10 cartons and you say you've seen 1 or 2, already we are in problems. And then the classification and valuation is another key area. When those things are strengthened, the ordinary customs officer, the assessment officer wouldn't have problems. We would just have to assess. Then the preventive man comes in. When you release the goods out of charge, it means that a preventive man too has to do his job very well, so that any other lapses along the way he rectifies. That is why it's like Kumasi did so well. There are checks and balances. That's why in a football field, you have attackers, you have midfielders, you have defenders before you have the goalkeeper.
Mr. Hiakpo, who assumed duty at the Kumasi Command in 2015, led the unit to exceed its annual revenue target for 2015 and 2016. Last year, Kumasi was adjudged the best collecting unit after it had exceeded its annual target by mid-year. Mr. Hiakpo commends his officers for a successful era in the region, often characterized by smuggling due to poor checkpoint systems.
I must confess, after this back-to-back successes, I became a bit demotivated. I never felt challenged again, and I started yearning for a tougher, bigger, different challenge from whatever I came to meet here. But then I must concede that I have to be extremely grateful in my career for my transfer to Kumasi. It is the Kumasi collection which gave me that opportunity and the platform to exhibit my leadership qualities. When it comes to writing my memoirs, my stay in Kumasi, the 20-month stay in Kumasi, has to be written in gold. Having said that, I felt it was time to move on. Yes, and I kept praying that I should move elsewhere to do something different and see if I could still achieve what I achieved in Kumasi. I have to thank my gallant officers, RECSEC, the media, the trading public. I see only opportunity in the new challenge, because you see, the positive thinker sees the invisible, he feels the intangible and achieves the impossible. And that is why, personally, I am so happy I am going.
For Joy Business, Prince Apia reporting.
We are turning to energy now because some Ghanaian engineers are proposing recycling of water in their Kosombo Dam to ensure uninterrupted power generation. Cheaper and sustainable energy supply to industries and domestic use remain a challenge for the country. Experts are, however, convinced that Kosombo Dam can return to full operation on all 6 turbines instead of the 2 currently in use if this suggestion receives attention. Another report by our Prince Apia.
The 35-year-old fashion designer has been sewing for 10 years. Unstable power supply is one of his challenges.
My name is Kofi Achampong. I'm the director of Perfect Fit Fashion Designer. And when the light go off, I'm worried because without light, I lose a lot of customers and I lose money too. Because when the client comes, the clothes are not ready, they will not happy and I lose their money. Yesterday, the light go off. From 7 going, the light go off. I waited, the light didn't come. So I left. Today, I even thought that the light would go off. But I'm pleading that the government should do something about the lights. I'm willing to pay so that my job can go on.
Stable power supply means reliable electricity for people like Kofi Champong and other consumers of electricity in the country. Very critical to enhance their productivity and be efficient in the work they do. A radical idea of recycling water from downstream of the Kosombo Dam is being proposed. Engineer and chief executive of Kwans Estate, Kofi Anoche, is spearheading the campaign.
As a developing country, you need to measure the average income of the Ghanaian, ordinary Ghanaians. You realize that giving him a bill around 200-300 Ghana cedis takes a huge toll out of his income. And for that matter, I think that we need to think outside the box as engineers, and that's exactly what we are trying to do.
The technology, which experts say will guarantee cheap and sustainable power generation from wastewater, is used in China and other countries. Mr. Anoche has been sharing and courting support for the model at a forum in Kumasi with colleagues of the Ghana Institution of Engineers.
Is the water going somewhere? Okay, if you can call it waste for now, because it's supposed to go into the sea after the pond dam, which becomes waste, of course, because immediately the water enters the sea, it turns into salt. So we are saying that getting the water behind the dam again That is the whole concept, and that is the crusade we are mounting. And we are saying that that idea can be replicated across the length and breadth of this country, so far as where the streams and other small rivers are.
Ashanti Regional Chairman, Professor Osei Owusu-Echao, is convinced the proposed power generation method will achieve good results.
You see, we generate power from the potential energy of water that is held somewhere up there. Now, if there's a way you can move the water from downstream up there, then you can use the water again. So there's no ambiguity about the science of it. The technology of it and the economics of it is another thing. As for the science, there's no problem at all with it. It is very workable.
Mr. Nochi believes the Kosombo Dam will operate at full capacity if government embraces water recycling.
If you're not going to produce carbon, if you're not going to pollute the environment, how are you going to generate electricity? It's only hydro. Or the renewable energies you need to, that if you're talking about solar, you need to get your batteries ready and be ready to change the maximum 1 year, 6 months. You have to change your batteries, and that is a huge cost. So the only way out, I can say for now, is hydro.
The back and forth of Ghana's energy security, from hydro to thermal, back to hydro, and now solar. Of course, it needs a closure for a consistent energy supply in the country. Prince Apia reporting.
Worth exploring, isn't it? We'll still stay with some energy issues. Lead managers for the 10 billion cedi energy bond have been asked to complete the fundraising exercise. That's within 2 months. This is what Joy Business has picked up from sources close to government. But what are the expected challenges that the bond managers would face in raising the funds? George Rafe has more.
According to a statement issued by the Finance Ministry, Standard Chartered Bank and Fidelity Bank have been chosen to lead the process of raising the funds. Sources say the plan now is to raise the 10 billion cedis within 8 weeks. This should mean that depending on the connections of the joint lead managers, the process could even be completed within 1 month. But for many, some of the issues that the managers would have to deal with is at what cost should the state pay as interest on this bond after paying almost 19% on a similar long-term bond, and whether there will indeed be high investor interest in this auction. According to these analysts, the recent rate hike by the U.S. Federal Reserve could mean that government may have to offer investors higher returns to secure their funds. Also, the recent debate on the $2.5 billion bond could also have an impact on this exercise. The persons close to government insist measures instituted to stabilize the economy will ensure that is the expected amount. Proceeds from the bond will be used to refinance debt owed banks as well as bulk oil distributors, a development that could go a long way to reduce the cost of credit in the country.
Now, EcoBank says it has instituted measures to avoid a takeover of the institution by any foreign entity. This follows reports that the Qatar National Bank, which has significant stake in EcoBank, is working to acquire the institution. Group chairman of the bank, Emmanuel Ikazabo, gave the assurance at the bank's annual general meeting in Lomé, Togo. The following Business Desk report has more.
The annual general meeting and extraordinary gathering brought together shareholders across the region, managing directors of the various EcoBank affiliates, as well as their board chairman. According to those who are following the developments of the bank, the takeover of the institution has intensified as EcoBank Group is set to embark on an exercise to raise some $400 million through convertible bonds to strengthen its operations. EcoBank is planning to give the first option to existing shareholders, which could see Qatar National Bank, which has a little over 20% in the group, acquire more shares to trigger a takeover of the institution, a concern expressed by some shareholders at the meeting. Qatar National Bank, which is very strong in Asia, is said to be looking for several avenues to establish itself in Africa, and EcoBank is said to be on its radar. But speaking at a press conference after the AGM, board chair of EcoBank, Emmanuel Ikazabo, said there is no cause for alarm.
So the EcoBank, yes, the Qataris have a significant investment. They have about 20-21% of the equity of the bank, and so do other investors having significant interest. However, we have a check in our article that will not make any one of them take over the bank. But if we get to a point where there's that threat, we will know what next step to take. But I can assure you we will try and resist it. Thank you.
Group Chief Executive of EcoBank, Ade Ayeyemi, said plans are in place to promote local ownership in EcoBank affiliates.
You will understand as well that in my country, Nigeria, there's many Nigerians in the room, from Queen Victoria to 1999, there were only 300,000 phone lines in the country. From the time when the telecoms becomes mobile, there are now more than 150 million people that have lines in this country. The essence of what we're trying to do is to make as many people to participate in banking. And we believe that by doing that, we will also become a much more profitable player, but much more impactful player in the countries where we operate. The route to being able to create economic prosperity is allowing as many people to participate in transaction services, in banking services.
According to EcoBank, measures being instituted to improve its financials would help yield the desired results soon to put the bank back on its strong footing.
Some lighter news now, and this year's edition of the Joy FM Beauty and Bridal Fair is just around the corner, and we are building up to the event. In fact, my colleague, Sarah Josu, has put together some statistics around the global wedding industry. The Beauty and Bridal Fair will take place at the Accra International Conference Center. That's from the 29th of June to the 2nd of July. Here's more.
According to an IBS World Report, the global wedding market is now a $300 billion industry, with $55 billion of that amount in the U.S. market alone. The report says the global wedding industry includes over 500,000 businesses, engaging about 750,000 people to work. The wedding event management industry witnessed a considerable dip in business during the economic downturn from 2008 to mid-2010. The industry is made up of multiple smaller enterprises like caterers, wedding consultants, dressmakers, various beauty suppliers, photographers, music, etc., who are all thriving on the growing prospects of this industry. These smaller composite suppliers are mostly privately owned businesses that do not necessarily report on their financial information. This is in sharp contrast to larger industries that comprise of many public companies required to file with the Securities and Exchange Commission, making it much easier to access needed data. Many of the smaller components like fashion designers, photographers, and visual communication designers also do other events without necessarily breaking their business down. The demand for wedding services is dependent on the personal income of the consumer and their families, as well as consumer preferences for their wedding ceremony. As there are so many different organizations that must coordinate to create a wedding, competition is often steep within this industry. Some businesses offer more than one wedding service in order to generate increased revenue, while others specialize in one sector of the wedding industry and focus efficiently in that unique area. By the end of the first quarter of 2017, the average amount U.S. couples spent on their wedding was $25,961, which is equivalent to 115,000 Ghana cedis. The trend in overall spending globally declined due to the falling demand for services like transportation, entertainment, and beauty, but there was an increase in demand for areas involving photography services, events location, food, and rentals.
Certainly an event you should look forward to if you're planning on getting married anytime soon. Well, this is Business Live. We're taking a short break. We'll be back.
Business Live today.
This is Business Live on JoyNews. Welcome to the program. Once again, it's time to take a look at the stock market. It's a Monday and Bertha Tibiga is in the studio with me. We were expecting a subdued market at the beginning of this week. I don't know how things panned out today. Okay. What do you have to report?
Well, today closed on a very good note. We had lots of equities trading, especially in ETI and Enterprise Group Limited, that's EGL. Over 200,000 shares were traded in EGL, and we had over 300,000 shares trading in ETI. So by close of today, we had 1.3 million shares trading at 2.9 million Ghana cedis, which is quite significant. We had 76 trades in all. The highest trade was recorded in ETI, apparently trading the highest volumes on the market. 22 trades took place in ETI. But by close of day, the movers that we had two movers, one loser and one gainer. EcoBank Ghana lost the Peswa to close at 7 Ghana cedis per share. Previously, or by close of last week, it was trading at 7 cedis Peswa per share. And we also had Unilever going up by 10 pesos after trading 1,300 shares at 11,700 Ghana cedis, and it closed at 9 Ghana cedis per share. That is quite high, and it's done very well this year so far. So this is what actually happened on the market, looking at the volumes and the values and the.
So what are our picks for this week?
Well, this week we're expecting GCB Gold, we're expecting BOPP, and then we're also expecting Standard Chartered Bank and FMO to make gains by close of this week. We actually have the estimated price quotes by end of this month for these equities. Before I mention the prices that we actually expect by close of month, GCB is currently returning 46.07% to investors. That's as of 16th of June 2017. So it's a recommended equity. And it started the year at 3 cedis 56 pesos, and it closed at 5 Ghana cedis 20 pesos per share. One of the indications that the stock market is actually doing very well this year. Gold also started the year at 1 cedi 10 pesos. It closed at 1 cedi 70 pesos per share. Has returned 61.82% to investors. Is a buy equity this week. BOPP has returned 101.92%, the highest returning equity on the stock market. It began the year at 2 cedis 8 pesos per share, and is currently, or closed the week at 4 Ghana cedis per share. That's a huge shift for BOPP, and it's been doing very well. Standard Chartered Bank is returning 36.37%, went to close at 16.12 Ghana cedis, and FML 11 cedis 57 pesos, and it's returning 5.03% to investors. And all these equities, we are expecting some marginal gains this week, and we expect it's a recommended buy equities for our investors out there, so they should consult us for the deals. And if you look at the estimated prices, like I mentioned earlier on, GCB, we are expecting it to close at 5 Ghana cedis 43 pesos by end of this month. That's 30th of June 2017.
It's not shedding of any pesos?
Well, it's not going to be stable, but we'll see the fluctuations going on. But that's the price at which we are expecting it to close. Currently, GCB is 5 cedis 20 pesos per share. We're expecting it to close the month at 5 cedis 43 pesos per share. Looking at the current trend on the market, and also considering the fact that they have released their financials, and then the stock market in general is doing very well. Demand for the equity too is a bit high. If you look at the equities that traded today, it was the third highest. 80,700 shares were traded in GCB. We also expect gold to close at 1 cedi 68 pesos, BOPP 3 cedis 58 pesos, Standard Chartered Bank 16 cedis 23 pesos, and FML 13 cedis 17 pesos per share.
Bertha Atubiga, as always, thanks very much for that update, and
thank you too.
We'll see you hopefully in the course of the week. Time now for our interview of the day. We've been speaking with the CEO of Slate Industries, Sandy Osajma, on the challenges faced by entrepreneurs.
Interview of the day.
From that point of view, from being part of your country and having learned something and wanting to come back to contribute, I'm grateful that I've been able to do that. But from practical business sense, this is a very challenging environment that we operate in.
You were telling me that for the past 4 years it's been difficult. Exactly which aspects have been difficult?
Quite a few. The exchange rate has been very devastating for most businesses, including mine. Where, let me give you an example. Whereas maybe some years past, I used to spend, say, $2, 10 cedis to $1. So my raw materials are dollar-based. So if I was paying $1, 10 cents per pound, that means I needed maybe about 2 cedis and some change. But then when the cedi jumped to 3 plus and 4, that means I need more cedis, okay, to be able to buy the same amount of raw material. In the meantime, you can increase your prices at the marketplace to cover that. So that means over a period of time, your value, your cap value start devaluing because your exchange rate does actually eat into your business. Secondly, the interest rate. I don't know where in the world you can survive in business paying 32+% annual on interest rate. So what happens is that, you know what they say now, the non-performing loans in Ghana, about 97% of them are private businesses. But I'm telling you, nobody goes into business to borrow money not to want to pay back. But the situation of interest rate, paying interest upon interest, does affect your ability to pay in the long run.
Interview of the day.
And thanks for being with us as always. That'll be it for Business Live tonight. We are back same time tomorrow. My name is Daryl Kwao.